Welcome back, folks, to APPEX 2024 Day 3 from the trade floor. These live streams are being brought to you by Burkert, where innovation meets inspiration. Whether it's optimizing processes, enhancing sustainability, or simply delving into the fascinating world of fluid dynamics, Burkert is your trusted partner every step of the way, and it's thanks to them that we're here. Kim Berry, you're back in the host seat.
I am, and still sniggering at fluid dynamics.
Yeah, computational fluid dynamics. It's awesome.
I know. It's just a great phrase. It should be a band, or
it probably was the name of somebody's ska band.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. This afternoon, we're joined by Darren Cook. He's the regional software sales manager for Marel, and he's going to basically do some explaining.
He's got
not
some
in a bad way
to do.
He's got some explaining to do, not from his not because of anything he's done, but because of my more humanities orientated brain than a coding techie brain. So let's start with, tell us about Marel.
Yeah, certainly.
Who you guys are.
So Marel was actually formed 40 years ago. So 1977 1977 was the precursor to that. And it actually started from a university project, trying to get weights off a scale on a boat. And the boat obviously moves around, and the scale needs to be stable to be able to do that.
Of course,
so they had to
right.
get the weights off the boat, weights off the scale, and also the data. And from that, a company was born, Marine Electrical, which went into Marel. So since then, we've actually, we're about 8,000 people around the world now, and in 35 countries. So we're actually a manufacturer of food processing equipment. So we've acquired a fair few companies over the years.
Yeah.
And so we're a manufacturer, as I said, and also a manufacturer of the software that runs those plants.
Right. And so, and this is where I start to get stuck. So you've got the software. How does it integrate? Like, how do you get it talking?
Well, there's a couple of things. Mainly, if you look at a plant, a processing plant, maybe a beef processing plant, you need to register animals in. So it's really the software that actually does that, registers the animals. It actually connects up to a government database to say these animals are okay to process.
Yep.
It goes through, and then it follows that from a traceability point of view all the way through the process of turning it into product down the other end. And as part of that, food safety, regulations, compliance, things like labeling, packaging, and really being able to trace it from that animal or even from that farm
through
all the way through to the package. And so that if something actually went wrong at the other end, you can trace it back. And to see where it's come from and what happened and so forth.
So that's what your software is doing.
That's what the software does. So that's one part of it. The other part is really optimization.
Right.
Understanding how many, the numbers, right? How many boxes are you producing? What are you producing? Where is it going? And the other side is optimizing that.
Yeah.
So most organizations now have been running for a while. So they're producing quite well.
Yeah.
But they are actually now starting to come back into the optimization side to say, I want to try and get more out of this. Because as soon as you cut things off, the main, you think about the salmon in the fish industry, and as soon as you start cutting off, you're not paying as much for that cut off as you are for the main. So it's about maximizing the main and minimizing the cut off. So
and I imagine then you can also, when a company's doing that, and then they know how much they're getting, say in the, what do you call it, the cut off? So like the waste,
or trim, or the
trim, right? Yeah. Then you can start to explore ways you can use that material.
Absolutely.
So it becomes, a value add product beyond, it being shipped off as waste.
Well, see, most of so I actually look after China, Asia, and Oceania. So
no biggie. That's just a little.
But one of the Japan's very good at being able to use everything.
Yeah.
And you'll see, and you might be paying $20 a kilo for the main product, and then it goes right down to $1 a kilo.
Yeah.
But you're still using the frame of the fish, everything's being used.
That actually reminds me, Grant, of that.
I was just thinking of our discussion with the Murray cod folks.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've
I've heard
Akuna.
of it.
Akuna sustainable Murray cod, and we were talking to one of the people involved in that, who's actually a chef, and he was talking about how just using there's a use for every single part of a fish.
Yep.
And the same for other things. That's so interesting. And does the software does the equipment and the software come as a plug and play like
package deal?
Yeah.
Sometimes it does because we manufacture the hardware as well as the software. Obviously, they work together very well.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have the hardware to have the software.
That was my next question.
Right. So it's yes, it works well, and we can get a bit more insight into the hardware because we know what the brain is, operating and how it's operating.
Yeah.
But we do deal with a lot of the other vendors where we either have interactions with them quite officially, or we just gather data from them.
Yeah.
So definitely.
What do you love about it?
It's just the market itself is actually quite interesting because it's everyone needs to eat.
Yes.
So watching, especially those countries that are just starting to move up social economic ladder as such, and as they do, they start getting pickier in what they eat.
Yeah. Yes.
And because of that, that's when we kind of kick in.
Yeah.
We kick in around that time because you need to have data to be able to say, I only want that piece.
Yes.
And that piece, rather than, a whole chicken or a, whatever. So
whatever's left.
Yeah, exactly right. But just watching that across Asia, across China, and the social economics has gone up, and people are starting to be very innovative. It is. It is fascinating.
I was talking to someone today who with a really experienced background in the dairy industry, and he was talking about China and their changing diet and their absolute growth in dairy, as in cow's milk dairy, and one of the reasons, or the main reason, is because they want to be bigger. They want to increase their stature, like not metaphorically, like actually grow a heavier frame and more muscle and more. So you need to eat more protein, and dairy is one of those big sources. And so putting things like little dairy, I don't know which ones they are, but like how we used to all get like a little mini bell or a laughing cow in our lunchbox. It's that sort of
wow.
So, and that's just one tiny example of what's happening in all of those emerging markets in terms of our food systems across the world.
So watching the higher, at least the increasing use of meat and in the diet, and a lot of people think of China and they think of the a lot of vegetables and everything else, but the meat use is really going up.
Yeah.
So that's probably along the same lines as that.
And what are you seeing in coming down the line in terms of the next sort of software advancements, or is there something also within the equipment space? Are there things that you're really seeing that are changing?
Well, I think robotics has to be the one thing. You walk into a plant, some of the plants have got 1,000 people working, and very, very minimal type jobs where they're only doing a little part of the process. And being able to take those people out of those components and make it easier, and robots will actually do that. So cutting up, I went to a lamb plant this morning, and they're actually cutting up lamb with robots. So no one's sitting there actually doing it.
So the robots are actually identifying with machine vision,
absolutely,
and rotating and cutting and
all of the above, and they will cut it into three parts, and it was all x-rayed, and they just get underneath the rib. But it's really quite fascinating, that. But then you've also got the robotics around. If you had a tray of 750 grams of chicken breast, and there's 3 pieces in it. Imagine them coming down a line and going, and a robot sitting there picking which ones will fill into that tray the best. And that goes at, they're filling trays at phenomenal speed. And so someone's not doing that, and
Yeah.
that sort of stuff is really fast. So automation, trying to take people out of factories.
Yeah.
Right? So that's probably the one thing. The other thing is that, especially in Oceania, you'll find people trying to optimize. Yeah, trying to get more out of the factory.
Yeah.
So from a software point of view, that's where we can probably help.
Yeah.
We don't tend to take people out of the process by
Yes.
adding software, but automation does do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the other trend, I think, from Asia point of view, they are just recovering from COVID.
Mhm.
They weren't lucky enough for the government to be able to kind of give them money.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are just survived. So they're
Yeah.
just starting to come out of that.
Mm.
And yeah,
I think we do forget that. Yeah, it really knocked China. I mean, we
Yeah.
kind of think that COVID finished, that we're well out of it,
No.
and it's just not the case. I mean,
Yeah.
it is now, but it took, they had a much longer time frame than what we did.
it's more Southeast Asia, like Philippines, Malaysia,
Yeah.
Right,
and
right.
countries
Yeah.
like that the government just didn't have the money, so
Yep.
just
Right.
didn't do it, and just said get back to work.
Oh,
Which
yep.
was a bit sad, but
Yeah.
that was hard for them.
Yeah, of
So-
course, of course. Look, thank you so much for coming along.
Not a problem.
It was so good. I know that this is probably highly controversial, but I have never been to a meat processing plant or an abattoir, and I think it would be amazing. I would be just standing there agog, like just at how they do it, like how they break down an animal.
I was actually
And-
pleasantly surprised. So I've only been in the industry for about 6 years.
Yeah.
And I was actually pleasantly surprised. You hear all these horror stories,
Mm.
and I haven't seen anything that kind of
Yeah.
stopped me from eating meat.
Yeah.
It's a long way changed since the 70s and 80s. Yes. having visited some
Yeah.
as a kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
My a friend of mine they did a tour. They did a school excursion to the
Mhm.
abattoir in 4th grade, and she has not eaten red meat since.
Yep.
And that was in about 1984.
Yes, I know some people from the 70s who still don't eat sausage. But anyhow, just conscious of time and
Yes.
all that kind of stuff. I
Indeed.
think we should look at wrapping up.
Indeed. Look, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. It was great. Thanks, Darren.
All right. Thank you very much.
We could easily sit here and chat way more about this, but
Yeah.
thanks, Darren. Thanks, Kim. And thanks to those who have been listening in to this live stream brought to you by Burkert, where innovation meets inspiration here at APPEX 2024 on the trade show floor. And stay tuned to this channel because we'll be back in the very short time for the next one.